Salute, hola, YouTube friends. Another noodle from the studio. I like the idea of noodle. Noodle makes the idea of thinking about stuff not so serious, because could be right, could be wrong. I don't know, but I was ruminating on this entire concept of learning and having experiences and we learn from. And just right off the top, the notion that we're here to learn something doesn't sit right with me. It's kind of like we are who we are from the beginning to the end, okay? We could dance on this pin. We can make a case that obviously there are experiences that result in choices that we make because, okay, you could say we learn something from an experience and we want to do something. The motivation behind doing anything, whether you're a degenerate or an enlightened being, is the motivation. The way it feels to me is that we want to be in a better place. Whether it's diluted or whether it's right, it doesn't matter. The motivation is, like I said before, to be in the rightness of something. And finding that rightness, and I'm really talking off the top of my head now. I was noodling on this, and I made some notes. And the reason I'm talking about learning is because I'm very suspicious about learning in a world that is created for us to be a certain way. Meaning that if you would agree with the notion that what we understand to be creation, the whole world around us, is not as it appears to be. Fundamentally, there are many levels of not being what it appears to be, from a physical point of view and from a mental, spiritual point of view. It's not what it appears to be. All the indications to me are it's not what it appears to be. So how can we learn from something that is it illusional? Yes, but it's also training us to think a certain way because it is made exactly the way it is, not what it appears to be. And in that sense, if we are attached to learning or thinking that we're learning, we're just part of an illusion. It's kind of like, I listen to people. I was just listening to a nice interview with a fellow called Lorenzo from the New Now. And the reason I came across Lorenzo is because he was talking to Howdy McCoskey. And McCoskey, for me, straddles a very interesting line because he's not really committed to the idea of learning, is the way I understand. And learning isn't, oh boy. Okay, learning in my mind, let me try and define learning. Learning is understanding something about something that allows us to make, to choose. It's an exercise in allowing us to choose different paths or make decisions on something. But that in itself locks us into the world of illusion, the world as it is, the world the way it appears. Let me put it that way. And I'm kind of thinking that he was talking with a fellow called, in this interview, Max Egan, who is very verbal. He's extremely articulate about all the right things. And I have no argument or I have no disagreement with any of the things, fundamentally because there's a a clear kindness in the man. This is how he comes across anyway. There's a very obvious kindness, and I'm talking about being something rather than having learned and applying anything. I'm just saying there is in all of us, we are who we are from the beginning to the end. That's what I say. And our being is that kindness, that generosity, whatever you want to see as a very, let me call it a positive thing in the nature of a human being. But then applying that into the world that is created for us in order to escape us, in a sense, to always be, there's always, for me anyway, there's always the suspicion that anything that I'm offered in my experience or what I see going on around me is not there to further the being that I am, who I am. And then, of course, we get things thrown at us that are either pleasant or difficult. So we go through a whole range of experiences that we would like to be attached to more than others. Yeah, of course. And I'm not enlightened enough to be detached from wanting to have something work well. And I mean, in my history, I have applied myself in this world, the way it is structured around me, to not be in a state of anxiety or suffering or unhappiness. But I mean, it follows us around. You can't avoid it. But I have applied myself without even having thought about any of this, even 10 years or 5 or even 1 year ago. The way I'm thinking now, I've always applied myself my motivation was essentially to be in the rightness of things. I didn't succeed very often, or let's put it this way, I didn't always succeed. And to be in the rightness of things, I come back to this quality in each human being that is, I understand to be a conscience, which is superior to any other inner state of being. Let's put aside the notion of consciousness itself relies, not put it aside. My premise is that consciousness, the precedence behind consciousness for human beings within this whatever that realm of consciousness means to you and me is conscience. So this aspect in all human beings exists, unless you're a psychopath. I've said this before, but even then, I believe it exists. So what I'm driving towards is the world of illusion. This is a premise. If you don't agree with this, if you think the world is exactly the way it appears, and fact, matter are straightforward, everything, well, just look at the shit show, the COVID shit show, how it was completely obvious how this reality is in cahoots with itself to undermine everyone and everything. And it's very difficult to resist because either the seductive part of it or the coercive part of it, all of it plays a factor in us going along. Okay, I'm not so concerned about going along or not going along. I'm really kind of dealing with this notion of learning. And I know that, I guess this arose out of a comment that Matt from Quantum of Conscience, I love that channel title, Quantum of Conscience. Interesting he would have chosen that. Anyway, he had said, how can you say you don't learn while you're here? And it's very difficult to defend the idea when I listen to very insightful people say all the right things, that they have come through their experiences and learned and are saying all the right things. So they're not assholes. If they were, they have changed themselves into who they are, that is a better person. So is that a result of learning, or is that something else going on? Because my premise is that learning, if I agree that learning is essential for me in this experience existence, I think I'll be stuck, because I'm putting value on something this world is offering me to learn. This world has nothing to offer us. That's what I'm saying. It's really out there, okay? It's really out there. It's like when McCoskey addresses the idea of nothing, or the emptiness of something. I forget exactly what he calls it. Is that sort of not doing? I think there was an interview that I briefly listened to with Lorenzo, and a very nice fellow, and McCoskey talking about not doing, and then going through elaborate explanations about not doing, and it kind of it escaped me in a sense. As much as I like both of them, it escaped me. The idea of articulating not doing, I understand, but in another way, it's part of this learning idea that bothers me. I don't know why I'm bothered by it. It ties me, it tethers me to this experience, the idea that I will learn and that I have to really be vigilant and become a better person because I'm learning. I become a better person because of conscience. Now you could say, see, a conscience isn't something that's sort of there. It's like evolution. The evolution of an eye makes no sense. It either works or it doesn't. So you don't have, like, for a million years, a spot on your forehead that turns into an eye. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. It either works or it doesn't. So the same with conscience is something that is right off the beginning to the end. It's the same thing. Okay? There's nothing that we learn in regard to conscience. It exists. That's all. So this is my argument about learning, that if a person is in the rightness of things because of conscience, there is no learning. There is just being right. Shit. Yeah, I'm probably getting myself into hot water. It's kind of like you're either learning or you are. You're being or you're learning. Which is it? And it's like a dance on a pin. Yes, of course. There are experiences that, I put my finger in the fire when I'm 3 or 4 years old and it hurts and I don't do it again. Yes. But is that the learning that's important in order to reveal to me that what I am a part of? This is a level of faith, obviously, in me, because superseding everything, whatever this world may or may not be, I have committed myself emotionally, spiritually, to this sense of being part of what McCoskey calls the planorum or something, that home you want to go to, that spark, that divine spark, if you want to call it that. Which, by the way, I think is closely related to conscience. May very well be even, well, I'm not going to say even. It's superior to, yes. There is no separation from when we are, this is my imagination talking, that when we are truly part of, there is no separation, there's just one. There is no sense of conscience and bad, good, evil, all that disappears. See, this is the world that presents itself to us. We have the dichotomies, the dualities, the law of opposites, all the things that are in duality. That no longer exists. However, our guide to being aware of this, let's call it a oneness, in this reality, in this experience, is conscience. I go back to this. And you may argue with me about, well, you learn lots of things, but I maintain, as long as you're learning, you're stuck in this reality. Okay, it's really a leap. I don't know why this bothered me, or why this kept surfacing in me. And it's likely because I'm going through some difficult experiences, obviously with my personal health, and in terms of relationships, there are some profound changes that are making my life, well, difficulty goes without saying, but in another way, the idea of learning from it doesn't make sense. Okay? Boy. And I realize that I need to be a certain way, but it's not because I'm learning something, but it's the essence of what I am establishes itself. And I can see my past, how I strayed from that. I made excuses for being a certain way that I don't like about myself. Is that learning? I suppose. But not in the sense that I see the world teaches me anything. And then, I'm listening to these very gentle souls speaking to each other, and I'm saying to myself, a word comes to my mind demons. It feels so right to say all those things, but as long as there is always a reference to the idea of learning, it creates a problem. I'd like to hear your responses. Anybody that is at all sort of would be able to elucidate or make it more articulate what I'm attempting to postulate here about learning, creating, making us, attaching us more to this illusionary world that we're in. And I mean, I listen to people that I have no argument with, I like, but what I feel is I need to break through the usual suspects. And the only one so far that has, for me, become a person of real interest is McCoskey, because not all of the stuff, because there is still this sort of gentle agreement that he has with the idea of learning something. I think I mean I have to go a little deeper into his ideas and his writing. But anyway, I think I'll leave it here. I will probably talk about this again, and as I progress, I'm sure there are people that are going to say, yeah, you're talking about your own life and you're learning stuff. Whatever it is, the experience that we have. Like McCoskey said, we're in a realm of the materium and experience, in the sense that this world that we are existing in, existence is material and experience. And it has its consequences. And one of the consequences is people say, yeah, we learn. But I don't think so. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Let's see if I post it or not. I'm not sure. All the best. All the best. I'll probably it'll clarify itself a little bit more as I move through this noodling and understanding. Anyway.